On October 26, 1852, a crowd gathered in the Methodist Church in Northampton, Massachusetts. For months, the citizens of the towns along the Connecticut River had read about the glorious prospects found in the new territory of Minnesota. One of the attendees, the Reverend Freeman Nutting, wrote, "Minnesota possesses a climate which for purity is not equaled by any other this side of the Rocky Mountains. It is essentially New England, but free from our sudden changes." Nutting proposed to the gathered audience that they join together and form a colony in the West, and a young minister named Henry Martin Nichols cast his lot with the venture. By the next spring, Nichols had moved with his family to Minnesota, taking up farming near St. Anthony Falls. Ill-suited to tilling the land, he jumped at the offer of William Holcomb of Stillwater to come and serve as pastor to a congregation in the town along the St. Croix. The local reception was warm. His wife, Nancy, wrote to her parents about people who left food and sawed wood at their door.
"Well, we are settled in Stillwater for the year comfortably, pleasantly, and happily. One neighbor sent in pies and bread for several days, butter, sugar, coffee, candles, and a large salmon and mackerel, another 3 bushels of potatoes and of onions, and another left at our door a barrel of flour."
Several local businessmen offered a new home to Nichols as an incentive for Nichols to turn down other jobs. And the pastor, with a growing family, agreed. When one church steward advised him to live on faith, Nichols replied, "I must have crackers, too. Faith without works is dead." In February 1857, he wrote in his diary,
"Delano, McCusick, and McCombs met me on the street, and I had a long talk with them. They will oppose my leaving, offer me anything I want, if only I will stay. They will make my salary $1,500 and build me a house, anything, if I will only stay."
The minister took them up on the offer and began plans for his new home. But what would it look like? In the end, he chose a plan using Gothic Revival architecture, a style popular between 1850 and 1870 and promoted in the U.S. by author Andrew Jackson Downing. During the 1840s and 50s, Downing's books, Cottage Residences and The Architecture of Country Houses, sold widely. For the first time, the middle class could look at plan books for a house and peruse the latest trends. Not only did Henry Nichols choose a fashionable style for his home, Downing's connection between the Gothic home and morality likely struck a sympathetic chord with the minister. Downing presented his houses as homes that represented Victorian virtues, such as gentility and love of family. One of Downing's plans was for a simple country cottage, much like the Nichols house. His words might have described this home. "It is an illustration of a cottage made ornamental with a very trifling expense, and yet expressing truthfulness and tasteful simplicity."
We moved into our new house the 1st of September. It is all finished throughout. I painted within and without. There are 7 rooms and a pantry on the lower floor, and good sleeping chambers, and a large, unfinished back chamber, and a large attic in the 3rd story. There are cupboards and closets and shelves, such as the women like.
Henry Nichols left Stillwater within a few years, accepting the pastorate of Plymouth Congregational Church in Minneapolis. The end of the story is not a happy one. As a staunch abolitionist and temperance man, his sermons made powerful enemies, and his wife Nancy wrote, "Friends would not let him walk the streets alone." One night in 1860, Plymouth Church burned to the ground, with the fire likely set by arsonists. The congregation decided to rebuild. But then, in July 1860, Nichols joined his family for a picnic on the shores of Lake Calhoun. 3 of the children went swimming, but while playing in the water they slipped over a steep slope and began floundering. Henry rushed out to rescue them, but soon fell into the depths himself. Nancy, wading after him in her hoop skirt, followed and reached out a hand to her husband, only to sink beneath the waves with him. 6 of Henry Nichols' extended family would die that afternoon. Looking back, the Stillwater years were the happiest of days for the Nichols family. Today, the house is one of Stillwater's oldest homes, and an excellent example of Gothic Revival architecture, reflecting the truthfulness of its original resident.